Come on in and grab a comfortable seat right next to me. Let us just take a long, deep breath together and leave all the frantic static of the day outside that door. I am so incredibly glad you are here with me today because my own week started off in the most chaotic, messy way possible, and I really just needed to sit down and talk with a true friend. Right before I pressed the record button on this camera, I felt this massive, stubborn headache beginning to build up right behind my eyes, and then this tiny, random bug landed on my leg, making me jump up and swat at the air like a complete fool. It felt exactly like one of those old cartoon gags where a character steps flat on a wooden rake, the handle flips up to smack them right in the face, and then they stumble backward only to step directly onto another one. Sometimes, it honestly feels like the modern financial world is just a relentless, never-ending line of rakes waiting to hit us in the face, the very moment we let our guard down. Then, to make matters just a little bit more intense, I happened to stumble across a viral video clip online that completely disrupted the quiet, gentle headspace I work so hard to maintain for us here. It was a recording of a powerful political leader talking about members of government trading individual stocks using confidential, private information that the general public could never possibly access. Instead of being honest about how unfair that is, he spent a massive amount of time trying to gather sympathy for these wealthy individuals, using a tone that felt completely disconnected from the actual everyday struggles of regular families. Watching that clip made me realize just how much of our daily financial anxiety is not actually our fault, but is instead forced upon us by staring at a system that feels fundamentally rigged and broken. We watch these chaotic headlines, we see people at the very top exploiting their unique positions, and this cold, heavy wave of worry just washes over our hearts. We start telling ourselves this stressful lie that if we do not possess a special secret edge, or if we do not know the magical hidden codes of the stock market, we are going to be left behind in the dark forever. But today, as your companion who walks right beside you on this journey, I want to gently remind you that your personal financial peace has absolutely nothing to do with their games. Real wealth management is never about chasing frantic shortcuts, and it is certainly not a high-pressure, stressful digital hustle that should keep you awake at 2 o'clock in the morning. To me, managing our money is simply a very soft, gentle, and deeply mindful way of nurturing our daily existence. It is so much like tending to a tiny, quiet garden on your sunny kitchen windowsill, where your only real job is to water the dry soil, step back with a smile, and let time do the beautiful, invisible work for you. When we see people in high positions acting with a complete lack of transparency, promising zero tolerance on television, while doing the exact opposite in reality, it is so incredibly easy to become bitter and cynical. They deliver this polished, expensive lip service to the cameras, telling us how deeply they care about fixing the rules, while making sure their own private profits keep rolling in behind closed doors. It can feel like we are trapped looking into a dark shadow realm of endless greed that we can never fully understand. And honestly, we should never want to enter that space anyway. When you choose to build your financial foundation on total simplicity, complete honesty, and deep patience, you are constructing a beautiful sanctuary that no corrupt system can ever touch or take away from you. You do not need an insider tip, a complex algorithm, or an aggressive broker to create a secure, joyful life for yourself and the people you love. All you really need in this life is a calm, clear head, a willingness to let go of unnecessary things, and the quiet discipline to tune out the loud, angry distractions of the world. Think about the average hardworking person out there today, waking up early every single morning, putting in long hours at a difficult job, and managing a household on a standard honest income. They are facing the quiet, heavy pressure of rising grocery bills and expensive housing every single day, trying their absolute best to make reasonable, loving decisions for their families. And then on the other side of the screen, we hear leaders earning hundreds of thousands of dollars complaining that it is a massive sacrifice to serve the public, unless they are allowed to trade individual stocks on the side. It is completely out of touch with reality, and it shows a profound, deeply saddening lack of empathy for what regular, everyday life actually feels like for the majority of society. But if we allow that anger to consume our thoughts and ruin our afternoon, we are essentially letting them win twice, because we let them take our collective peace, and then we let them steal our mental clarity. Instead of focusing all our precious energy on what is rotten at the very top of the food chain, let us turn our eyes back to what we can actually control, right here in our own comfortable living rooms. Let us talk about a financial path that feels clean, spacious, grounded, and entirely free from that heavy weight of constant comparison. The truest, most beautiful secret to long-term investing is that there is actually no secret at all, despite what the loud media tries to sell you every single day. The financial services industry absolutely loves to make things look incredibly complicated, building this massive, confusing labyrinth of technical terms, volatile charts, and urgent red flags. They desperately want you to feel confused because confusion makes you completely dependent on their expensive products, their high fees, and their frantic, non-stop trading platforms. But the most effective strategy is always the one that is the most boring and simple, which simply means buying quality assets, holding on to them with deep patience, and letting the steady march of time carry the heavy weight. Think of your investments not as a high-stakes, stressful poker game in a smoke-filled room, but rather as a silent, invisible helper working quietly in the background while you sleep, cook, and laugh with your friends. When you buy a tiny, diversified piece of the entire global economy through a simple, low-cost index fund, you are putting a quiet, disciplined worker to work for your ultimate future freedom. You do not need to check the fluctuating numbers every single hour of the day, and you never need to panic when the mainstream headlines turn sour and frightening. You just keep your head down, live your beautiful, meaningful life, and let that magical concept of compound growth slowly accumulate over the decades. It is a slow, rhythmic, natural process, very much like watching the gentle change of the seasons, or waiting patiently for a newly planted tree to bear its very first sweet fruit. The exact moment you stop treating the stock market like a flashing, noisy casino, the heavy blanket of anxiety just evaporates into thin air, leaving you with a light, peaceful heart. You suddenly realize with absolute clarity that you do not need to outsmart a single person on Wall Street to win your personal freedom. You simply have to outlast the loud, frantic noise. I know it can be incredibly frustrating to see people break the ethical rules with absolutely zero consequences, while you are working so hard to do every little thing the right way. It makes the whole concept of a fair, honest market feel like a total myth, and it can leave you feeling incredibly small and powerless against the giant machine. But your primary, most important goal in retirement planning and true wealth building is never to accumulate the highest number of points on a digital scoreboard. Your real goal is to buy back your precious time, your physical health, your emotional sanity, and your absolute independence from stressful environments. When you build a comfortable, safe cash cushion and pair it with a remarkably simple, hands-off investment portfolio, you gain the ultimate superpower to say no to things that drain your spirit. You gain the beautiful, rare luxury of breathing easy every single morning, choosing exactly how you want to spend your precious hours, and focusing entirely on the relationships that truly matter to your soul. That is the real profit of a well-managed life, and it can never be measured by a single percentage point, a corporate dividend, or a flashing green arrow on a television screen. So, the very next time you see a viral video clip of a politician talking about the extreme sacrifice of their high-paying, powerful position, just smile gently to yourself and let it slide right past your mind. Do not allow their lack of self-awareness to disturb the quiet, peaceful harbor you are working so hard to build for yourself and your loved ones. We cannot single-handedly fix all the deep corruption at the top of the world today, but we can absolutely choose how we react to it within our own hearts. We can choose to step completely off the exhausting treadmill of constant comparison, and instead embrace a slow, beautiful lifestyle of contentment, gratitude, and gentle financial choices. We can decide with total confidence that enough is truly enough, and that a simple, honest, and peaceful life is the highest, most authentic form of success anyone could ever achieve. It is about creating a soft, cushioned space where your mind can rest easy, knowing that your future is secure, not because you gambled correctly, but because you chose to walk a steady, quiet path. Let us think about how we can take a step back from the constant need to accumulate more and instead focus on how we can streamline what we already have in front of us. When you look at your bank accounts, your savings, and your investments, they should not look like a tangled web of confusion that requires hours of stressful maintenance every single weekend. If you have 20 different accounts, dozens of individual stocks you are constantly stressing over, and a mountain of financial magazines telling you what to buy next, you are just inviting that external chaos into your home. True financial freedom looks like a clean, open room with plenty of sunlight, where everything has its proper place, and there is absolutely nothing cluttering your view. It means having one safe place for your immediate spending money, one simple engine for your long-term growth, and a mindset that is entirely content to let those two things sit quietly and do their jobs. We do not need to reinvent the wheel. We do not need to listen to the frantic voices on the news, shouting about the latest economic crisis, and we certainly do not need to copy the aggressive strategies of people who value money over peace. Our wealth is meant to serve our lives. Our lives are never meant to serve our wealth, and keeping that boundary clear is the most important thing we can do for our mental health. When you can look at a wild, volatile market and feel absolutely nothing but calm indifference, because you know your strategy was built for the long haul, you have truly won the game. You have won because you are no longer playing by their rules. You are no longer letting their greed dictate your happiness, and you are no longer letting their corruption make you feel insecure about your own future. You are standing on solid, beautiful ground, supported by your own steady choices, your own quiet patience, and your own deep understanding of what a good life actually requires. It requires love, it requires laughter, it requires a few quiet moments of reflection with a warm cup of coffee, and it requires a safe, simple foundation that lets you sleep peacefully through the storm. Thank you so very much for sitting down with me through my headache, through the random bugs, and through these heavy, serious thoughts that have been weighing on my mind all week long. Your constant, beautiful presence here means the absolute world to me, and sharing this quiet, reflective space with you always brings my heart directly back to its center. If you found even a tiny bit of comfort, clarity, or reassurance in our conversation today, please consider leaving a gentle, thoughtful comment down below to share how you keep your own financial life simple and peaceful. I love reading your words, I love learning from your experiences, and I love knowing that we are walking this slow, mindful path together as real friends. Take exceptionally good care of yourself today. Remember to breathe deeply through the chaotic moments, and I will see you very soon for another quiet chat.